the sky we soar. Every day, aviator, let me show you more.
From Tinker's inside, hear those engines roar. Feel those rush, I'm the naked door. Love so hard, and just like a rain. Take me deep with the mission of me.
Every day, aviator, conquering the skies. After burning dreams in those spider jets we fly. Every day, aviator, reaching new heights. Soaring through the clouds on the starlit nights. Fasten your seatbelts, hold on tight. We'll chase the sun, break through the night.
From the hangar to the open blue, aim to twist the turn, I'll guide you through. Throttle up the ride, embrace the thrill. Every day, yeah, there's a skill and will.
Every day, aviator, conquering the skies. After burning dreams in those fighter jets we fly. Every day, aviator, reaching new heights. Soaring through the clouds on the starlit nights. We live for the roar, we die for the speed. In this endless chase, it's adventure we need. Through floods over oceans, every path we lead. Every day, aviator, we were born to exceed. Every day, aviator, conquering the skies. After burning dreams in those fighter jets we fly. Every day, aviator, reaching new heights. Soaring through the clouds on the starlit nights.
Hello everyone, welcome to a new video on Microsoft Flight 24. This is the first actual video I've ever done on it, and not a stream. And now after it's been out for about a month, I am going to show you the tricks, ins and outs of it, and things you may not have known. So this video will contain multiple things about planes you didn't know you may have had, how to use the EFB, and just overall things that I thought was pertinent to know or to try out. And just wanted to give some enlightenment and some feedback on the pros and cons about switching to Microsoft Flight 2024. So I have recently played around with some of the airliners in Microsoft Flight 24, and fortunately Asobo did not try to build everything all themselves. So the cool thing is the default aircraft that you will be flying at Microsoft Flight, a lot of them were actually built by third-party developers, such as the Airbus. All the Airbuses have been made by AnyBuilds. The helicopter Airbus, the H225, also built by AnyBuilds. Arenado built a few things, the Pilatus PC-12, and some of the other aircrafts I can't remember exactly offhand. But because of this, it made the airplanes much better at launch. Another great thing about some of these other aircraft is that they also went in collaboration with Working Title to help the avionics systems and make all that work as function, or as it should function rather. And it was really noticeable difference on launch compared from the 2020 default aircraft to Microsoft Flight 2024 default aircraft. Here you can see I'm in the the Boeing 737-800 MAX, and the avionics actually work. You can build a flight plan in them. It actually follows your nav, your flight plan. ILS actually works. So it's great being able to have all these aircraft in the very beginning of Microsoft Flight that most all of them work as they should. It's been great to have at launch and not have to wait for these third-party developers to come back and backfill in the work that we kind of missed out on at the very beginning of 2020. And not just those two companies, multiple companies went in with Microsoft Flight to help build aircrafts. There's quite a few of them. PMDG did not, but they are added in some of their aircrafts. not too long from now, and they'll get them up and running. Most of them actually already work Microsoft Flight 24. Just need to tweak a few things in them for the most part. But I've tried the Concorde, the 777, and the DC-6, and I've not tried the 737. But all three of those that I tried did work pretty well. Concorde did not seem to have as much performance though, but I imagine they will get that under control. Having helicopters at the launch of this Microsoft flight is great as well, because that was a big letdown when 2020 came out and we did not have helicopters. It actually took a couple years before we got helicopters. We did have some modders that came in and pretty soon after launch and made some helicopters. The downfall was that you had to use third-party applications before you could actually fly them. And if you was playing on console, there was just no way to do this until the Microsoft actually added in helicopters. And here we're flying the Airbus H225, also made by no, this is not made by Any Builds. I said earlier that Any Builds made this. They did not. High Performance Group actually made this helicopter. And if you ever flew any of their helicopters in 2020, they're actually really good. The 135 is free. The 145 and 160, I believe it is, was not free, but however, it was worth the money in my opinion because the autopilot, everything functioned as you would expect it to. Now, I'm not somebody that's actually flown a helicopter, so I can't really, say, yeah, sure, the physics and everything is spot on. So, I've flown in a helicopter before, but it was just a Robin 44. Nothing like big like this aircraft per se. I will say the Robin 44 in Microsoft Flight 24 does not seem quite accurate as it should. I would love to see Calcium add in some helicopters pretty soon and update theirs that they already have to work great in 24, because in my opinion they make some of the absolute best helicopters that I have ever flown in 2020. But the lineup of helicopters we do have in 24 is great. The 225 is my favorite so far. Later on in this video I will show Miltech's CH-47. They have already updated it to work in Microsoft Flight 24, and as a third-party helicopter it is my favorite and in this sim so far. It's also pretty much the only one, but in 2020 it was one of my favorites. The only other helicopter I flew a lot in 2020 was the Robin 66 made by Calcium. But the avionics and everything function in the helicopters as intended. All the control surfaces seem to work appropriately. The H125 has some missing items. You may have noticed it. You don't have any trim. There's already a mod out for that on FlightSim.2 that can add that back in for you. And here is one of the cons. So this is the Coronado 414, and it is one of my favorite aircrafts in 2020, general aviation wise. But as you can see here, my custom livery, it did not transfer over correctly, so I'm going to have to fix that. 90% of everything works in it. Well, actually everything works in it. It's just got some visual issues, such as the fuel cutoff, fuel mixture. My goodness, can't think of it. But it does not actually move. As you can see there, it is actually all the way down when in reality it is actually full rich. So there's that, and my avionics don't work right there, so that's a downfall. I mean, you can still fly it VFR without autopilot, and you still could use autopilot, you just can't use a flight plan or do any direct twos, anything like that. But the sounds work in it, the performance seems the same, the physics seem the same, which is great because I flew this probably more than any other general aviation aircraft in 2020. It was just a great all-around long-range aircraft, but every airplane I have tried thus far has worked pretty well in Microsoft Flight 2024 with just only a few hiccups here and there, so that's great to see, and they'll also be updating them. And if you have the urge to want to go fast and loud, they do have the F-18 included in this one. Does not have the Top Gun livery, the Maverick, and it's kind of a bummer. Maybe they'll add it in the future. I'm sure some modder will add it in. But the F-18 it does function a little better than in 2020, as in panel-wise, systems-wise. The physics of it actually seem a little better. Again, I've never flown an F-18, so I can't guarantee you anything. But I do like all the effects that they already got included in it. With the air shock, breaking the sound barrier, the sound goes out. It's just really fun to fly if you just want to go fast and loud for a little bit. Just to get away from the slower moving GA aircraft. Spice things up a little bit. Now, something they do have to work on, which I noticed from day one pretty much, well, day two, because day one was a miserable failure on the launch side for the servers. The servers were the limit that day, but pretty much noticeably right away at nighttime, I noticed a lot of the airport lighting is way too bright. Fortunately, they've already announced they're working on the fix of that as of December 16th, as of today, so they should have that fixed pretty soon. But other than airport lighting being insanely bright that you can see from the International Space Station, the overall lighting, aircraft wise and city wise, actually I think is a major improvement. In 2020 we had to have mods pretty quick just so we could actually see 20 foot in front of us with the aircraft, and this one that you actually can. The city lighting, ground lighting looks pretty much the same per se, but what I've noticed different that's better is the cloud lighting, so you can actually see the light illuminating the clouds, which is really, really cool. And they did have that in 2020, but it wasn't as well done, and that could be just because of the weather system, and this one is much better. It overall looks better. The volumetric side of the clouds I think is better, so that's probably what helps the clouds look way better with the lighting. But when it comes to airport lighting, they do need to work on that. Because I mean, like this, if you turn off a runway onto a taxiway, you got the green for the center line for the taxiways, and it's like, oh goodness, where is the actual taxiway? Of course you got your line to follow, but it's just a mass cluster of lights, and that does cause it to be confusing. Something else they have added that I really like is not only do they have live traffic for airwise, but now they have live maritime traffic. So if you look on the ground and see all these names, that's actually boats. So if you look at them, you can actually tell what they are. And it's not going to be very descriptive as in what type of boat they are, other than just the general purpose, as in a pleasure craft, oil rig, research vessel, fire boat, stuff of that nature. But it's really cool to see that added in. I would like it to be a little more detailed as in what the boat actually looks like, because cruise ships don't look really like cruise ships, and I don't expect everything to be perfect. Some of the other aircraft that have successfully been working in 2024 is one of my favorites as well when it comes to fast and furious wise, which is the F-35B. And the only issue I have noticed with it, which I think they could fix pretty easy, is you'll see on takeoff it does a weird particle effect with the dust kick up, which is not shown in 24. But I think, like I said, I think they can fix it pretty well. But all the systems work as intended. The only thing that doesn't work systems-wise is you don't have a keybind for your VTOL or hover, which they'll add, I'm sure. And there you can see the particle effect looks kind of weird, so that's kind of a bummer. But I mean, hey, that's the only thing that's not working on it at the start. I'm happy with that. Because the keybind issue could be fixed relatively easy. But its performance, its sound, everything seems like it should be from when it was in 2020. The bad part is not all aircraft did get successfully ported easily, as in my two absolute favorite aircrafts, the V-22 and the Harrier, they just did not work at all when I tried them, which I kind of figured they wouldn't. I actually figured the F-35 wouldn't either because of its complex systems, but nevertheless, it actually did. The F-22 does work, kind of. It's a little oversensitive. That's kind of an understatement. It is a mean aircraft in real life, but it is not quite as interesting, I guess, as I could say, as it is in 24. So hopefully they'll add a patch out for that pretty soon, just to get it back up to speed, literally. And so I can get back in some fun with that. But that is the main reason I never uninstalled 2020, because I knew that everything would work right away. I knew it would probably take a good 6 months before everything was starting to look better. And there are some hidden gems in this game that I'm going to show you how to find, such as the 6-pack 172. And most people I've seen don't know how to find it, don't even know it exists in this one. But it does work. It works great. All the systems work. It's just like it was in 2020. It's just now in 2024. All the performances of it, visuals, everything works great. I've not noticed any bugs with it whatsoever. So it is nice to hop in it and go a little older school with it and not have all the super fancy thousands and thousands of dollar Garmins in front of you. Just having the old standard 6-pack is sometimes just, I don't know how to describe it, it's just, it can be a little more relaxing, I guess you could say. But it's nice to hop in here and just get on and fly around. Another little hidden feature in 2024 is the CAPS system. So simulating an electronic and engine failure here, which I eventually get the electronics back up, I will use the CAPS system to save myself. So Cirrus aircrafts usually all come with built-in CAPS systems, which is just a parachute system. So if you do have an engine failure, you can safely land, and it's located overhead. And you can see my co-pilot here is not nervous at all, and she doesn't know, but she's about to go for a wicked ride. So after you deploy that, you're going to go in like Mach negative, whatever you want to call it. You're just going to pull a bunch of G's, and it's a little unstable. But nevertheless, it's kind of fun to play around with because you can simulate engine failures and glide gracefully to the ground. I guess you can consider that gracefully. But it's pretty cool that they added that in, I think. I did it the first time by accident. Here's the Miltech CH-47, which they have already updated and integrated it into 24. It actually worked before they did that, but after they updated it, it works 10 times better. Everything worked in it before, it's just the performance wasn't up to par. But now it works flawlessly with great FPS and no stutters. Sound, everything works great on it. I've not tried any of the cargo where you can pick it up yet using the hooks. I probably should try that sometime just to see if that actually works, because that'd be pretty cool. I used to do that every now and then. It's kind of fun flying around Humvees and other helicopter parts and pieces around different places and making deliveries. But it's nice to have because it's honestly one of the best sounding helicopters in the Sims, I think. If you've ever had one of these in real life, it's very obvious what you're about to see. That famous egg beater sound is unforgettable. The V-22 kind of sounds like it, but nothing like the CH-47. Now on to a special aircraft, which is fun to fly around in, is the aerial firefighting airplane. And if you've been playing career mode and got it unlocked, you'll learn that it's, let's just say, it can be difficult to take back off once you're fully loaded with water. Boy oh boy, can you not tell you are much heavier once you are fully loaded with water. But it's fun to just fly around in free flight and pick up water and water the trees, or just wash some cars with it. But yes, just bind you a few buttons to the scoop doors and the drop tanks and you'll be set to go. I don't recommend really trying to pick up water in the ocean like so, because it can get a little bumpy. But go down, scoop you up some water, and when you're ready, drop that water, douse those flames. If you've played the career mode, like I say, you probably realize that it takes a lot of flights to get the fire put out. Career mode, it can take up to like 7 dumps to get the entire fire out, but the career mode firefighting is actually really, really fun. It's pretty addicting. I think it's my favorite right now. And if you want to relax a little and just enjoy the sights and sounds with something a little quieter and slower, they do have the hot air balloon, which is pretty cool. Never tried it in 2020, but I'm glad they added it in 24. And a couple different versions. You got the standard version, or here you can see the motorized version. And there's a couple key bindings you need to learn with controlling the whatever you call that, the flames. I'm sure it's got a technical term, but I am definitely no hot air balloonist. But it is kind of fun to get on, fly around, turn the prop on, and see the sights and sounds from a much slower perspective. And be careful with going too fast up in the air, because if you get too high vertical speeds, you can actually, I don't necessarily pop the balloon or whatever, but it does make you crash rather fast. So just be careful with that. But it's pretty fun to get on around the mountains and see.
One of the cool things that I've really enjoyed with this in 2024 is having to do your pre-flight inspection of your aircraft. You don't really have to do all of it per se, but you would in real life, of course. At least I would hope you would. You don't have to do this. If you just hit the fly now on a runway, it does take all this away from having to do it, but you at least always have to do the chocks and the covers for the engine, the pitot tubes, static ports, stuff like that. So that's something pretty cool that I enjoy doing, and you can check the oil and all that stuff, and you looks, oh yeah, it's good. Yep, you can put that back up. You check the tire pressure, the condition, stuff like that. That's always going to be good in this aspect, at least for now, until they maybe can randomize it. But in career mode, you should check that whenever you fly, because that stuff does get wore down, and you do have to pay to repair that kinds of stuff. So in career mode, it's good to do that. In free flight, you don't have to do all that right there. So I'm just going to skip for the rest of that. The other cool feature I like that they added in 2024 is the EFB. I really like it. So it's kind of a combination of a few things you had in 2020 all put together. Right before 24 came out, they integrated Navigraph and Sim Brief in it. And so this is not Sim Brief or Navigraph by no means, but it acts like it in a way. But right here, you just have your map. You can see where you're at. You can click on areas, say remove from flight plan, which I've never added it, but you can add it, direct to, set it departure, arrival, more information. So that's pretty cool. You can do that. And here's where you can add in your flight plan of wherever you're at. And let's see, where am I actually at? ASC, I think it said. Yeah, ASC. So I could go KASE, and it would pick the runway. I can always change it. I can add my departure in if I want to stay VFR pattern. Left 45. It's pretty cool because you can see what you're going to do before you actually add it, and then you can hit change procedure. It'll change it. You can always just go back to direct, and wherever you're going to go after this, there's no way I could make it to Charlotte on one tank from here, but I just picked that because it was there. Then you can of course do the same here, change your procedure, and I like how it shows the overlay before you do it, and then you can load it in. So you can send it to your avionics if you want to. For the most part, I think I've seen it work pretty much flawlessly. Some aircrafts it's a little buggy. I would say. But if you're in something like this aircraft, it can be, if you're just flying VFR, it's easier just to do it manually, really. Uh, you can do it however you want. But the other cool thing about this is you do have access to maps and information about the airport, which is really cool. So you can see your weather, the runways, the frequencies, and then yes, talking about the map, so airport map. So I can see the ground chart here. Let's see, there we go, it'll load it, and you can see your taxiways, and all that stuff. So that's pretty cool. And then you can see your departures. Say that's the one I was going to do. There it is. All right, cool. I can see it. So that's really cool. So if you don't have a Navigraph subscription or feel like digging these charts off of other apps, it's now all built in, which is really, really cool. Because I don't fly enough IFR to actually get Navigraph, in my opinion. So I like this being added in, and you can change whoever you get the provider from, whether it's Lido or FAA. And then you have your overview of your entire flight. And you can see that there. And then you can go in here, change your flight details, IFR or VFR, enter your registration number, who you're flying with, flight number, call sign, the date, time, block time, your comm equipment, which for the most part that's not going to change that much. Transmotor, which is going to be usually mode C for most everything. And then general, military, other, enter any remarks. So that's really cool that you can do all that. Then you go in here, change your payload option, and you can see what your empty weight is, what your estimated landing weight will be, so you know you're not going to have too much fuel when you get there, but you can make sure you're not going to have too little fuel. And here's where you can change your actual weight, and you can change the rules, auto, manual, how much extra you want, final reserve, do you want an extra 45 minutes on there, stuff like that, which is really neat. And there's your nav log, and you can add clip charts right here so they stay right here and save the charts. So if it's an airport you use a lot, you don't have to always dig for it, you can easily just grab it right there. Then the other cool thing about the EFB is it does have the some aircraft information here under the aircraft page, so you can see the performances, environment, you can landing, takeoff, you can set all that up so you know what your performance is going to be. And then you have your built-in checklist, which is very similar to the way it was in 2020. Really the only difference is it's just broken down a little better visually. It's cleaner looking, if that makes sense. And then the last thing really on here is your pilot book, where it keeps up with all your flight times. So you can look at it by month, by year, by week, how much you've took off, landed, how many airports you've visited. So that's pretty cool. So yes, the EFB is a really cool addition in Microsoft Flight 24. So something I've noticed on a lot of the groups I'm in on Facebook is people are saying that they don't have certain planes, or how did they forget to add this aircraft in, such as the most common one I see on Facebook groups is the six-pack Cessna 172, also known as steam gauges. They say everybody's saying it's just the G1000 version, and it's actually not. It's kind of hidden, so it's yeah, it's not as well formatted, I guess you can say, in this one as it is in 2020. But you actually have a few different hidden aircraft, depending, of course, on which version of Microsoft Flight you bought. I got the Aviators Collector's Edition one. But so like for finding the 6-pack Cessna 172, whenever you click on the Cessna, which mine's changed because I keep it at the 6-pack, it's going to be probably this one, the G1000 Cargo, under the variant. Under the variant tabs is different variants of that aircraft, and if you just scroll down and find basic, that is the 6-pack Cessna 172. So you can actually get the regular 172 in here, and then of course you have different liveries and all that stuff up there. But then just hit save and load in, and you're good to go. So there, like I said, there is different versions of a lot of these aircrafts. Let's see. So here's another one, for example, the C-47. Not C-47, CH-47. It's got lifting, the default, or passenger. So you got different ones there. Just like with the Airbus A225, you've got the standard civilian, the search and rescue, and cargo, I think. Can't remember. And the same goes for all your airliners too. For the A330 here, for instance, this is the A330-300 General Electric edition for the aircraft. Go under variants and look here. You got Rolls-Royce. You've got the A330-300, the VIP Rolls-Royce, the 330-200 Rolls-Royce, the General Electric, the VIP for it. So there's a lot of different options under this variant tab that people don't realize. So I encourage you to go and just scroll through and see which ones you find. You'll probably find some new variants of aircrafts that you really like that you didn't know you actually had. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I hope it brings you some enlightenment to what to expect from Microsoft Flight 24 right now after about a month of being out. Yes, it has some issues, but overall it's been a pretty good experience for myself. Performance-wise, it's been great. It's performed better than 2020 ever did for myself. Downside is it does use more internet for if you're restricted by that. All in time, aircrafts will become a little better. We'll get new stuff added. Servers will probably get a little bit better. But